Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So yesterday we are at the cross-zonal load balancing. Let's continue from there. Yeah. Okay. So we are at a cross-zonal load balancing. Let me just repeat these things again. The cross-zonal load balancing part. If you enable the cross-zonal load balancing, if it is enabled, yesterday I was telling if we get 100 requests from the users, this 100 requests would be equally distributed to all the instances, irrespective of in which availability zone it is there. But if the cross-zonal load balancing is disabled, if the cross-zonal load balancing is disabled, then if you get 100 requests, these requests are distributed equally to the availability zones, maybe 50-50. Okay. So if you see here, this 50 requests were equally distributed to instances here. And if we have two instances, and if you have more instances in one availability zone, and if you have less instances in another availability zone, if the cross-zonal load balancing is disabled, you may not justify these instances, the request to the instances. Okay. And cross-zonal load balancing is always enabled with application load balancer. That is the reason when we are creating an application load balancer, we have not came across this option because it's always enabled. But with network load balancer, the cross-zonal load balancing is disabled by default, but after the creation of network load balancer, we can enable or disable at any point of time. Okay. And when you create a classic load balancer, the default for cross-zonal load balancing is depends on how you create the load balancer. For example, if you are creating a load balancer with the API or CLI, this cross-zonal load balancing is disabled by default. But with the console, the cross-zonal load balancing is enabled by default. But anyways, after the creation of classic load balancer, you can enable or disable the cross-zonal load balancing at any time. That's okay. Okay. And we have DNS setup for the ELB. When you create a load balancer in a particular region, okay, so your load balancer DNS name will be look like this. Your load balancer name, the account ID, region, ELB, Amazon AWS.com. Okay, so this is not user-friendly name, which usually people would be happy to use this. No, you should be having a name like this. A google.com or a facebook.com or something like that. Okay, so what we can actually do is, once we create a DNS name, or once we create an elastic load balancer, we can create a DNS name with the help of Route 53. So Route 53 is basically a domain name service where we can create domain names like gmail.com, facebook.com and all, like example.com. And you can add this ELB ka DNS name under it. Okay. And this ELB will be resolving into multiple IP addresses. So whenever a user tries to access this domain name, then it will resolve into the ELB ka DNS name, and from there it will resolve into the different IP addresses. Okay. Next comes with the scaling your compute resources, where your auto scaling will come into picture. Okay. So what is that elasticity? So an elastic interface can expand and contract as capacity needs change. Some of the examples are increasing the number of web servers when traffic spikes, lowering write capacity on your database when traffic goes down, handling the day-to-day fluctuation of demand throughput your architecture. Okay. So what is an elasticity? Whenever you want it, it's like a rubber band. You want it, you expand it. If you don't want it, it backs automatically. That's basically the elasticity is. Now, what is the scaling? So scaling is basically a technique to achieve the elasticity. Scaling is the ability to increase or decrease the compute capacity of your application. So scaling and elasticity will go one by one, just be beside. So scaling is expanding, elasticity is like shrinking back. Okay, so maybe you're actually using T2 micro, a small processor. Now you want A1 medium. That's basically a vertical scaling. You're actually increasing the size of it. If you don't want it, you can go back to the previous one, which is T2 micro. That's basically the scaling. When it comes to horizontal scaling, maybe I have 2 servers as of now. Now the number of users are increasing. It adds 1 more. Again, the number of users are decreasing. It terminates the other one. Scale out and scaling. Basic config is having 2 instances. Whenever you want it, it will go and expand, add instances. Otherwise, it terminates instances. That's horizontal scaling. Now, coming to the EC2 auto scaling. So this EC2 auto scaling launches or terminate instances based on the specific conditions. It automatically registers new instances with load balancers when specified and can launch across availability zones. Okay. Coming to an example. So what we can do is we can define a minimum, desired, and maximum. So minimum is the one where you want the number of instances at any point of time, 24/7, 365 days. Maybe if you are running an application for years. So at any point of time, it should not go below minimum. It should maintain the minimum number of instances. And it should not go beyond also, beyond 4. Desired is the one, the number of instances at that point of time is basically the desired value. Okay. And this desired capacity will be playing around minimum and the maximum size. Next comes with the auto scaling group. So this auto scaling group contains a collection of EC2 instances that are treated as logical grouping for the purpose of automatic scaling and management. This auto scaling group continues to maintain a fixed number of instances even if an instance becomes unhealthy. So if an instance becomes unhealthy, the group terminates the unhealthy instance and launches another one to replace it. We have seen that, right? You can use scaling policies to increase or decrease the number of instances in your group dynamically to meet changing conditions. So if you define some sort of policies, according to the parameter or the metric which we have defined, accordingly, the auto scaling will add and remove the instances. Okay. We have launch configuration also. So what is launch configuration? Launch configuration is basically a template for your auto scaling group to launch instances. Okay. And when you are creating a launch configuration, you would be specifying the AMI, instance type, security group, key pair. Okay. Maybe what do you call the block device mapping and all. I mean to say the volume. Okay. And you can specify your launch configuration with multiple auto scaling group. So let's take you have a launch configuration. Okay. And from launch configuration, you can create multiple auto scaling groups. Yes, because launch configuration is just a template. From a template, you can define multiple auto scaling groups. So that these auto scaling groups will create an instance according to the configuration which is mentioned in the launch configuration. Okay. But let's take this auto scaling group is creating a T2 micro. I think I explained this T2 micro instance. Okay. Now you want to change this to A1 medium. So what you can do, you can create another launch configuration because you cannot change an existing one. You can create another launch configuration and you can add this launch configuration for the existing auto scaling group. You need not create another auto scaling group for that. You can change the launch configuration. You can change it, but you cannot add it. You can only change it. Okay. So once you change it, this would be the new launch configuration for the auto scaling group. And going forward, if you have A1 medium enabled for this launch configuration, the auto scaling group will create another EC2 instance with A1 medium instance type. Okay. And next comes with the manual and dynamic auto scaling. So very simple, that the name itself is telling what is a manual and dynamic. For example, if you have created a minimum, desired, and maximum, and you have not defined any policies, what you can do is on the top of the EC2 instance in the load balancer, you can enable the CloudWatch manually, and you can just monitor this CloudWatch. If there is any CPU utilization increases, you can manually add another EC2 instance or remove it accordingly. That's manual. But if you are defining some policies, then according to the CPU utilization, auto scaling group will automatically add an instances or remove also, doesn't matter, both. Okay, so manual and dynamic will be like that. Now, scaling your databases. We do have vertical scaling with RDS because we cannot have different servers having the data of one database. You can have only one database. Okay. If you want to add more capacity in terms of the processor or the volume, you can add an existing, you can update that, upgrade it. That's called again vertical scaling. Okay. You can scale vertically with the minimal downtime. And we can also scale with the read replicas. It horizontally scale for read heavy workloads. You can have up to 5 read replicas and 15 Aurora replicas. And replication is asynchronous. Obviously, we have seen it, right? So what is multi-AZ? You will have a primary database, and you have a secondary one or a standby. Application would be talking to only one database at a time. For some reason, if the primary goes down, it will automatically fail over to the secondary one. And these databases are in sync. But whereas the read replicas, this also will be created from a backup of primary, but they would be in asynchronous mode. And this read replica will get the request only for reads. Okay. Now scaling with Aurora. Same thing. So Aurora cluster can have up to 15 Aurora replicas. The data was replicated in 15 copies. So obviously you have great availability and also the performance. Okay, you can take a backup also for that. Next comes with the Route 53. So very simple. If you want to create a domain name, so for example, if you have created an EC2 instance and you have an Apache, a default web server. So how do you host it? With the help of public IP address. How usually people will host it? Usually with a domain name, and we add the public IP address under the domain name. And whenever we give this domain name, it will resolve into the public IP address and it will hit the server, and the user will be able to access the web browser. Sorry, the web server page or the website page. Okay, so with the help of Route 53, we can create a domain names in AWS. Yes. Okay, so this Route 53 is highly available and scalable domain and web service. This Route 53 effectively connects user requests into infrastructure running in AWS as well as infrastructure outside of AWS. So it need not be an EC2 instance. It can be an on-premises server also. Okay, and Route 53 can perform three main functions in any combination: a domain registration, DNS routing, health checking. So what are the three main functions of Route 53? These three: domain registration, routing, and health checking. So registration is basically creating a domain name like facebook.com, example.com, like that. Routing is how you want to route traffic to the server, so by adding a public IP address. And health checking is something like, for example, if you have two IP addresses, IP1 and IP2, okay, when a user is trying to access a website, the Route 53 will make sure to check with, the Route 53 will check the health of the servers, and it returns only the healthy IP address. We'll see how it works and all. So now what we'll see, how internet is routed to your website or web application. Okay, so whenever a user is trying to access any website, let's take example.com. First of all, the request will go to the DNS resolver. So this DNS resolver is responsible for getting the IP address for this domain name. Yes. Okay. So if it is in the local cache of the DNS resolver, it returns it immediately. If it is not there, the first step is to hit the DNS root name server. This DNS root name server will have all the information about the DNS. Like this root name server will extract the top level domain, the TLD. The top level domain is basically the .com, .in and all. It extracts the top level domain. Okay. And it returns the .com. It returns the .com name server IP address to this resolver. So it is asking to go to .com TLD by giving the IP address of it. Then the resolver will go and hit the .com name server, okay, with the host name. It just say that, okay, example, because it is going to the .com name server, it is telling that we have a domain name with example, maybe ending with .com. So can you just tell me the IP address? If we have registered this domain name, the example in Route 53, this root.com name server will return the route. Okay. Then the resolver will go and hit the Route 53 name server, because we might have registered the IP addresses in the Route 53. Route 53 randomly returns any one of the IP address to resolver. So any one of the IP address, it all depends on what routing policy you have defined, which we'll be discussing later. According to the routing policy, it returns any one of the IP address, and the DNS resolver will go back with the IP address to the browser. Then the browser will go, the browser will go and request or hit the request to the web server, and web server will return the relevant web page for this example.com. Okay, so this process usually takes less than a second. Very simple. Now, whenever you give facebook.com, if you have a proper internet access, usually your website would be uh, loaded within a second. Okay. Next comes with the hosted zone. So hosted zone is basically a container for records, and records contain information about how you want to route traffic for a specific domain. Okay. So when you create a domain name in Route 53, okay, you would automatically get a hosted zone created for you. Yes. Okay. So hosted zone is basically a container where you have records. Records have the information about how you want to route traffic. Okay. So you already have a hosted zone. You can just open the hosted zone and you can add the IP addresses by defining the policy. Okay. But if you have created a domain name already somewhere and you want to transfer to Route 53, maybe I have created a domain name in godaddy.com, and now I want to transfer to Route 53. If you have done that, you have to explicitly go and create a hosted zone. If you register a domain name already in Route 53, hosted zone would be created automatically. But if you transfer, you need to create a hosted zone in order to add the record. That's about the public hosted zone. When it comes to private, so this private hosted zone contains a record that specify how you want to route traffic in VPC. That means maybe it's a public and private subnet. You have an EC2 instance where you have your application. You will have another EC2 instance where you have a database. Let's take like this. Now, when you are writing an application logic, obviously you would give the database the IP address, correct? This IP address you would be mentioning in the application logic so that whenever a user is trying to access the application, to access the data in the database, according to the IP address which you have given, it will go and hit to the server. But obviously the application would be developing by the developers, and you need to provide the IP address of this EC2 instance to the developer. But if you want to mask that also, if you want to hide that IP address also, what we can do, we can create a domain name, maybe db.com. You can add the private IP address instead, and you give this domain name in the application logic. Then what will happen? You are not even showing the IP address of the database to the developer also. So whenever application is trying to hit a database, it will hit the domain name and it will resolve into the IP address and it will hit the database server. If you want to hide that IP address also, then yes, you can please go ahead and then do that. Okay, so that's about the public and private hosted zone. And coming to the routing policies, first comes with the simple. So in simple routing policy, you would create a domain name in Route 53. Okay, and you add the IP addresses under your domain name. Okay, so whenever a user is trying to access a domain name, this Route 53 will return any one of the IP address. If we have multiple, that's okay. It returns any one of the IP address to the browser. We have already seen. But in simple routing policy, it returns any one of the IP address without checking the health. No health check. That means a user may found page not found error. May. He may. We also have failover. So failover is basically the same story. Okay. And let's say you have 2 IP addresses. That means 2 servers having your application. Whenever a user is trying to access some sort of website, all the requests will go to one server. If there is an issue, only if there is an issue, then it will automatically fail over to the second server. Failover. We also have geolocation, where let's take you have users in 2 regions, Mumbai and North Virginia, and you have servers in 2 different regions. Okay. Now, if a user is trying to access the application being in North Virginia, the request will go to the North Virginia region, the server in the North Virginia region. But if a user is trying to access from India, the request will go to the Mumbai region, server in the Mumbai region. Okay. So that's basically geolocation. According to the location, the request would be directed. We also have latency. For example, let's say you have 2 servers. At this point of time, let's say I'm trying to access this website. At this point of time, which server can serve with low latency, that IP address would be returned. That Route 53 will return that IP address. Okay. We also have multi-value answer, where in this, it's similar to simple only, but in multi-value, it will check the health of it before it returns to the browser. This Route 53 will make sure that it returns only the healthy endpoints to the browser or healthy IP addresses to the browser. Okay. And next comes with the weighted. Let's take I have created an A1 medium instance, this one, and this is M5 large, which is basically one of the biggest ones. Obviously, if you have medium processor and highest processor, this processor can serve medium request, whereas this can serve huge request. Okay. So what we can do is, because it's a small processor, you can define how much percentage of requests can this server can serve. You can define it, maybe 30, 70, 40, 60, something like that. So that if 100 requests are coming from the users, 30 requests will be sent to this and 70 requests will be sent to this. So this weighted can be used only if you have a scenario like this, having the same application to different servers but of different distance types. Then you can go for this. Okay. And we also have the health check, basically the third functionality of Route 53. Okay. So this Route 53 will check the health of the server. If it is once it requests, if it responds back, it is healthy. If it is not, it is not healthy. So what we can do, optionally, we can add a CloudWatch alarm on top of it, so that you would be getting notified to your mail with the help of SMS. So the CloudWatch and SMS we will see in the coming slide. Okay. So CloudWatch is a monitoring service. We can just keep a monitor this EC2 instance, and on top of it, if something is not responding, then you can trigger an alarm. When the alarm is triggered, you can trigger SMS topic, a simple native notification service, where the recipients will receive the mail and they may take action to fix it or add a new one. Okay, so that's basically the three functionalities which a Route 53 would be doing it, or taking care of it. The domain registration, once it registers, it has to route it. Once it is routing, it has to make sure it is taking the health of it also. Health. Okay. And we also have a global accelerator. Let me just explain with this, like this. If you don't have a global accelerator, okay. So if you are trying to access from your local PC to AWS region, the request may need to go, jump or take multiple network hops to reach the AWS server, and of course the response also. Okay, so each hop may impact the performance and also can introduce risk. But with the help of global accelerator, we can actually use a global network, AWS global network, resulting the improved performance. Okay, so if you want more performance, and another thing is if you have users, if you have global users, then it's good to go for the global accelerator. So this global accelerator is a service that improves the availability and performance of your application with local or global users. So this global accelerator uses the AWS global network to optimize the path from your users to your applications, improving the performance of your traffic as much as 60%. Yes, up to 60%. Okay. And this global accelerator continually monitors the health of your application endpoints and redirect traffic to healthy endpoints in less than 30 seconds. First thing is, if you have a global user, this is called global accelerator. If you have global users, it might be having issues, but if with the help of global network, AWS global network, yes, you can solve the problem. Okay. Next comes with the CloudWatch. So as said, CloudWatch monitoring service monitors all the services by default, almost all the services by default for every 5 minutes for free. We can also go for detailed monitoring with CloudWatch. Okay, so what CloudWatch will do, it will create displays, metrics and all for all the services. And according on top of the metrics, we can define alarms and all if you want it, and we can monitor it. And we can also gain the visibility, what is exactly happening in your service with the help of CloudWatch. Okay, so first of all, we'll see how it works. So this CloudWatch can create metrics from services or also from your custom data. Once it creates a metric, you can have a statistics on top of it, so that you can see it from the console or the statistics a customer application, or you can also create an alarm on top of it. With the alarm, it all depends on you what type of action you want to take it. Whether you want to auto scale it by adding another instance, or you want to trigger SMS by sending a mail to your email ID. Okay. Coming to the CloudWatch concept, first comes with the metrics. So metrics are the fundamental concept in CloudWatch. A metric represents a time-ordered set of data points that are published to CloudWatch. And think of a metric as a variable to monitor. Let's take a CPU of EC2 instance. CPU utilization is basically a metric. So let's think of a metric as a variable to monitor, and the data points, basically the points, 80% or something, are as represented as values of that variable. By default, several services provide free metrics such as EC2, EBS, RDS, and all. And we also have alarm. So let's take CPU is a metric. You can create an alarm on a CloudWatch metric. Let's take CPU or billing. Okay, and you can set an alarm on a metric, and this alarm would be triggered whenever a threshold crosses.
And this alarm can have three possible states. One is basically the okay. For example, if you take a CPU utilization, okay. So as far as the CPU is below 80, it's fine. It will be the okay. Okay. If it crosses, the success 80 or crosses 80, it will be an alarm. Okay. And when you are creating an alarm, if you have not given proper information, then we can move to insufficient data. Then the alarm will move to insufficient data. Or another scenario. Let's take I have an EC2 instance and I created an alarm on top of the CPU utilization of my instance, on this instance, particular instance. Later I terminated my instance. What will happen? The CloudWatch is not having an instance to monitor and have a metric, or I'm going to have a graph at least, or take the value. Then that alarm will move to insufficient data. Like that. Coming to the module summary, so what we have discussed about the load balancer, the application load balancer, class load balancer, network load balancer, cross-zone load balancing, internet load balancers. How do we make load balancer highly available and fault tolerant? We also discussed about the scaling, elasticity, and auto scaling also, how it improves how it adds and removes instances according to the demand. And we also discussed about the route history, how to create a domain name, how do we route it, and also checking the health of it. And we have seen CloudWatch. So how do we create alarms and all? What are the possible states of an alarm? Any questions, guys? Let me just open the chat. Could you please explain from classic load balancer? So, Prakash, classic load balancer is basically a load balancer for EC2 classic network. When I say EC2 classic network, that means the instances without an VPC. The instances are created without a VPC. Okay, it is ideally used for the EC2 classic network. It is not that you cannot use for other instances. You can still use it for EC2 VPC, but AWS would recommend to use application and network load balancer. Now, coming to the application and network load balancer, application load balancer is basically supports content-based routing. Okay, that means according to the content, you can adjust you can send the traffic to that instances. And this application load balancer supports HTTP and HTTPS protocols. For other protocols, you can go for network load balancer. And another thing is network load balancer is, it was introduced in 2017. And this network load balancer is used for high performance, high speed. Okay. And the application load balancer works at the 7th layer of OSI, and the network load balancer works at the 4th layer of OSI maybe. Okay. So the application load balancer is called a content-based routing, and it is smart when compared to network. Network is just to improve the speed. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. So we'll go for quiz then, one by one. Yes, we'll go a little faster. So why load balancer will be used? Okay. So yesterday I was shouting on someone, right? I just want to say sorry to that person. Actually, yesterday my dad was in the hospital, so I was in that hurry. Okay. So I hope you guys understand. Okay. Yeah, I would be out of control when I was in little time. So I was, I think, little rude about it. I don't know. Balaji, I think so. I don't know whether Balaji has joined or not. Yeah. So yeah, the load balancer. Okay. Okay. To distribute the traffic among, to distribute equally, to distribute. Okay. Mm-hmm. Health check also. Yes. The second thing is health check. So what are types of load balancers? Okay, that guy is Balaji Reddy. Yeah? Balaji join avaleda? Is not a join? That's okay. Yeah, application load balancer, class load balancer, network load balancer. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, that's not at all your fault. It's okay. That's fine. No, I'm fine. See, I never say that it's your fault. It's okay. You can still ask it, but because I was in little hurry, I was little irritated. So I just raised my voice. That's the reason. I don't mind saying sorry. I'm sorry for that. So, classic application load balancer. And what is the difference between internal and internet load balancer? Difference between internet and internal load balancer? Wait, Mastera. Answer. Rastanara. Maybe. I'll wait. No problem. Internal is between public and private. Correct? Internet is? Okay. So, internet load balancer will have the public IP address, will resolve into the public IP address of the instances. Internal will have the private IP address, it will be resolved into the private IP address of the instances, which are in the private subnet. Okay. So what is cross-zone load balancing? Cross-zone load balancing. Okay. Exactly. Distribute the traffic equally to all the instances, irrespective of availability zone. So is it possible to add, correct, is it possible to add instances after the creation of elastic load balancer with target group? So after the creation of ELB and the target group, can we add instances into it? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes, we can add it. So what is auto scaling feature? Guys, just give me a minute. Please try to answer that. I'll be back. So auto scaling group is auto scaling it automatically add remove instances. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Adding the instance if needed and removing when needed. Okay. Mm-hmm. My father is good now. He came to home. It's in the night only at 9:30, 10. It's fine now. Thanks, Priya. So, auto scaling group. Yeah. Okay. Correct. So according to the demand, it can increase and decrease the number of instances. Okay. So coming to the internal and internet load balancer. Internet load balancer అంటే ఏంటి అంటే మనం మనం చేసాం కదా మొన్న హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్, అది ఇంటర్నెట్ అంటే ఏం చేసాము, ఈఎల్బి డిఎన్ఎస్ నేమ్ బ్రౌజర్ నుంచి డైరెక్ట్ గా హోస్ట్ చేసాం ఫ్రమ్ ఇంటర్నెట్. దట్ ఈస్ ఇంటర్నెట్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్. అది ఇంటర్నల్ అంటే అయితే ఏంటంటే మనం బ్రౌజర్ నుంచి హోస్ట్ చేయలేము. ఎందుకు అంటే ఆ ఈఎల్బికి ప్రైవేట్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ ఉంది. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ మనం బ్రౌజర్ నుంచి హోస్ట్ చేయాలంటే ఏంది, అది పబ్లిక్ ఐపీ ఉండాలి. మనం ఈఎల్బి డిఎన్ఎస్ నేమ్ ఇస్తున్నాం కానీ దాని వెనక పబ్లిక్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ ఉంటుంది. AWS will assign a public IP address to that. Okay. At the same way, internal load balancer will have private IP address. Okay. Internal load balancer will have private IP address so that it cannot be accessed through internet. And ఈ ఇంటర్నల్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ఎప్పుడు యూజ్ చేస్తాము అంటే ప్రైవేట్ ఐపీ నుంచి ప్రైవేట్ ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ పంపిద్దాం అన్నప్పుడు ప్రైవేట్ సబ్నెట్ లో ఉంటాయి అట్లా. చెప్తా చైతన్య, ఇది కంప్లీట్ చేసి చెప్పేస్తా. ఓకేనా? సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద ప్రీరిక్విజిట్స్ టు క్రియేట్ an auto scaling group? What are the prerequisites to create an auto scaling group? Auto scaling group create చేయాలి అంటే ఏంటి ప్రీరిక్విజిట్? లాంచ్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్. పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్. సో వాట్ ఇస్ ద డిఫరెన్స్ బిట్వీన్ మాన్యువల్ అండ్ డైనమిక్ స్కేలింగ్? మీరు త్వరగా ఆన్సర్ చేసేయండి, మనం డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం లాస్ట్కి. మనకి ఎంత ఎక్కువ టైం ఉంటే అంత త్వరగా చేయొచ్చు. వాట్ ఈస్ మాన్యువల్ అండ్ డైనమిక్ ఆటో స్కేలింగ్? సో వాట్ ఈస్ మాన్యువల్ డైనమిక్ ఆటో స్కేలింగ్? ఏమైంది చెప్పట్ల దగ్గర? స్క్రీన్ షేరింగ్ ఆగిందా? ఏం కావట్లేదు. సో మాన్యువల్ స్కేలింగ్ ఇస్ ద వన్ విచ్ correct, which you add and remove the instances, whereas dynamic scaling is the one auto scaling group will add and remove the instances. Okay, correct. So what is a global accelerator? Global accelerator. Global accelerator would be used if you have global users, and it will allow us to what do you call? It will allow us to use a AWS global network. For it to improve the performance up to 60%. Correct. So what is a CloudWatch? What is a CloudWatch, and what are the possible steps of an alarm in CloudWatch? CloudWatch is basically a monitoring service. Yeah. So CloudWatch is a monitoring service. There are three possible states. Okay. What are they? Alarm. Okay, alarm insufficient data. Cool. Okay. So now we'll talk about building decoupled architecture, which is basically the SNS and the SQS. Okay. So, for example, if you're looking for a job opportunities in a particular company, let's say company X, what you usually subscribe to that company, subscribe to that job alert, so that whenever they post any job notifications, you would be receiving through mail. Okay, so SMS also will replicate the same concept. Okay, so in SNS, the first is basically a PubSub messaging service. First of all, publisher subscriber would be there. Okay, so the first thing which we'll be doing in SNS is creating a topic. And you will be subscribed to the topic through mail. You have multiple protocols. You need not have mail. You can have other services also. And once you subscribe it, and you can add this SMS topic. So this is basically a communication channel. Okay, and you can add this topic as an event in S3. Okay, so what will happen? Whenever, and what you can do is event matlab, if you can just keep it for put event. Let's say I want to get notified to my mail whenever an object was put into S3 bucket. Okay, then what you can do, whenever an object was put, it triggers the SMS and it will be sent, pushes a mail or pushes a notification to your mail. That is, there is an SMS is called, suppose a push mechanism. Okay, so if you can see like this, you'll have a publisher and you use SMS, and this SMS topic, SNS will trigger SMS topic, and it will fan out the messages to different protocols in different ways. So if it is an email, you send a Twitter, we can just do it in send messages, you send a notification one way. If it is HTTP, you send it another way. If it is Lambda, another way, like that. Okay, and we have two types of clients in SNS. One is basically the publishers and the subscribers. Okay, you'll have an SS topic in middle, and you'll have a publisher, can be S3, and here we have different protocols supported for subscribers. So we have Lambda, SQS, HTTPS, email, and SMS. Coming to the SQS. So the common thing in SNS SQS is the publishers and the subscribers. But instead of topic, you'll have a queue. So this SNS is for notifications, but SQS is basically for messages. You can actually send messages. Let me tell you with an example. For example, if you're trying to order a phone or a TV, basically in Amazon or Flipkart. Usually, Amazon will tie up with third-party services, maybe Samsung, Toyota, or any showrooms, Chrome or something like that. Okay, so whenever you place an order, it sends the messages to the third-party services, and they would keep the product ready. The customer and the delivery guys will go and deliver the product to the customer. Okay, and as soon as you place, you would be getting a message like the order was placed, it was shipped, in transit, delivered, feedback, everything, lot of things. Okay, and these messages which Amazon sends to the third-party services or to us can be done with the help of SQS. Okay, so it's basically a message-oriented middleware. Actually, it works as a messaging backbone. Instead of you managing the hardware and maintaining it, you can use SQS. You can start with SQS in minutes actually. And it's a fully managed. That means even if you send thousands of requests, messages, it can handle it. It will go and expand and shrink back. No problem. If you can see the life cycle, there are three main parts in the distributed queuing system. One is basically the components, publisher, subscriber, and all. The queue, basically the queue, and the messages itself. which is the message. Okay, so the messages actually stored redundantly in multiple SQL servers. You see here, A was duplicated like that. Okay, and coming to the life cycle, for example, if a producer has sent a message A into the queue, obviously it spreads, it replicates in multiple SQL servers. Okay, and when the consumer is actually consuming the messages, he need to consume within the time visibility check. That means we would be giving maximum of 40 days. You can keep a message in queue. Within that 40 days, if we can pull it, yes, he can pull it. And once he pulls, he will be deleting the messages so that duplicates weren't introduced into it. Okay, and so you can send unlimited number of messages into the queue. A message size can be 256 KB, but if it is more than 256 KB, you can actually use S3 to store it. Okay, but in S3 you can go for maximum of 2 GB only. And when I talk about the queue, we have two types of queues. One is basically the standard, other one is the FIFO. Okay. And coming to the benefits, this eliminates the administrative overhead. You can manage your own SQS. You can use SQS instead of managing the whole infrastructure. You can reliably deliver messages, keep sensitive data secure, and scale elastically and cost effectively. Okay. And now, I said that we have two types of queues. One is basically the standard, other one is the FIFO. So the standard supports unlimited throughput, whereas FIFO will give it high throughput. So when I say unlimited, no. Lakshmipriya, S3 is SQS is S3 is a storage service, but SQS is basically it's a queuing service where you send messages and people will receive it. No, it's not storing. See, when it is queuing, when it is sending messages, you can keep in the queue for 14 days maximum. It's like that. Okay. S3 unlimited forever wait for. So, a standard queue supports unlimited throughput, where you can send unlimited number of messages per second. But FIFO will give you 3,000 messages per second. But it is just a soft limit. You can increase the limit. And at least once delivery. In standard queues, if you send a message can be received twice. Let's take I ordered a TV, but I got 2 TVs. That will happen if you go for standard queue. The Amazon might send 2 messages to the third-party services, and they would keep 2 products and you would be receiving 2. But if you go for FIFO, exactly once counting. So you can use FIFO if you're going for an e-commerce website. Let's take Airtel, Vodafone messages. If you have recharge, if you get 100 times, I'm sorry, 100 would be over, right? If you get even 2-3 times, it's okay, right? Okay, you get the same message twice, that's okay. But not like the before example which I told you. Okay, and best effort ordering. So in standard, if you have sent a messages in an order, you may not receive in the same order. But in FIFO, it follows a strict order. That is called first in, first out. FIFO. Okay. And coming to the retention period, I said we can keep it in the message in the queue for 14 days maximum. Minimum is 1 minute. Default is 4 days. Once it crosses the retention period, if you keep 14, once it crosses, it will be deleted automatically. This SQS can be used with multiple services. Okay. And according to the priorities, you can define the queues. And we also have the good reliability of the messages because, as said, the message would be replicated in multiple SQS servers. Yes. Okay. Now we'll see how SQS is different from SNS. So SQS is basically a queue, but SNS is a topic. It's basically a PubSub. It's completely into notifications, but SQS can be sent messages. SQS is pull mechanism. Customers or the consumers have to pull or pull the messages. Messages are not pushed like SMS. No. And messages can be received by multiple receivers at the same time. So if you have a producer, you have a queue, and you have sent for a consumer, only he can. Only he can access the messages if it was sent to him. Once it receives, it will be get deleted. You need to delete it. Okay. And because the customer has to pull it within the retention time, you may have some latency. Publisher will send messages, it will be in the queue. Maybe meanwhile the consumer has to pull it. So that's the reason you may have some sort of latency issue. It's not an issue, but it's some sort of latency will be introduced. Okay, but in terms of SNS is basically a push mechanism. SNS pushes the messages to the customer or the consumers. Okay, for example, if an S3 as the event was happening in SNS, it immediately pushes a notification to the mail. Okay, and this SNS supports the several endpoints, like you can have SQS also as an endpoint. You can have Lambda also. You can have HTTP, HTTPS and all. So if an event happened, if a put event was happened in S3, it triggers SNS, and SNS will push notifications to all the protocols in their own ways. Okay, and coming to the use cases, STS decoupling to applications and allowing parallel asynchronous processing, and SNS fan out processing the same message in multiple ways. Okay. Coming to the persistence, you see in SQS I said that you can have maximum of, you can keep a message in the queue maximum of 14 days. But you know, in SNS, for example, you have S3 and you have triggered SNS, but you have missed to add email ID initially, and you have enabled this event for put. If an object was put into S3, actually it has to trigger SNS and it has to send a mail to the email. But if you don't have any subscriber, the message is lost. The notification is lost. You cannot get it back. No. So that is the reason, first of all, you have to set up this thing, creating SNS, subscribe to it, and then you have to add a publisher. Because there is no persistence in SNS. It just pushes it. If you have a subscriber, if you have an email ID, it pushes an email ID. If it is not, the message is lost. The notification is lost. Okay. So yeah, in this module we have discussed how to use what is SNS, what is SQS, what is the difference between the SQS and SNS, and when to use what. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Okay. So what is an SNS? ECS, ECS ante Elastic Container Service. How do a customer know that there is a message in the queue? No, see, he has to pull it. He has to check it every time. I am message every time and check he has to pull it. So if he knows, come to know that, okay, we will be having a messages, then he has to do the process manually. Alaga. SQS, where it stores the data. SQS server to store అవుతుంది. Yeah. మనం చిన్నగా క్యూ రాసాం కదా, కానీ అక్కడ పెద్దగా ఉంటుంది. Yeah. Oh, questions. ECS, Elastic Container Service, is basically for Dockers and all. Container-based applications, so ECS మనం host చేసుకోవచ్చు. Yeah. Without you managing the hardware, and then yes, you can go for ECS. మనం virtual machine లో కూడా container, Dockers అవి install చేయొచ్చు. But we have an ECS explicitly for container-based applications. Okay. So what is an SNS? Any more questions? You can ask me, no problem. మనం త్వరగా అయిపోతే సర్టిఫికేట్ గురించి మాట్లాడుకుందామని ట్రై చేస్తాను అంతే. వాట్ ఇస్ అన్ ఎస్ఎన్ఎస్? ఇంకొకటి గైస్, మీరు ఒక ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి ఇచ్చాను కదా, దానికి పంపించండి. మీరు నాది ఏం తీసి చేయకండి, పర్లేదు. నా దాంట్లో ఫుల్ అయిపోతుందని సెపరేట్ ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి ఇచ్చాను. ఓకేనా? ప్లీజ్ సెండ్ టు ద ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి విచ్ ఐ హావ్ షేర్డ్ యూ. Yeah. So SNS is a notifying service. Sorry. What is the primary task to start with SNS? మనం SNS స్టార్ట్ చేయాలంటే ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఏం చేయాలి? We need to create a topic. టాపిక్ చేశాక సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేస్తాం. Yes, exactly. Who are the clients for SMS? Who are the clients for SMS? Publishers, subscribers. What is SQS? SQS. Simple queuing service and event. Define that. Where you can have multiple producers and you will have consumers. Okay. And these producers can send messages to the queue, and according to their application logic, they can consume the messages. And it's a pull-based model. Okay. So what are types of queues, messaging queues in SQS? What are the two types of, what are the types of messaging queues in SQS? What are they? What are they? FIFO, standard, cool. Which queue allows duplicate messages? Which queue allows duplicate messages? Standard, okay. So what is the retention period of SQS messages? Retention period. What is the maximum size of an SQS message? Maximum size? General size? 256 KB. Okay, cool. Okay. So coming to the certification. See, by default, or the basic certification is based on the Cloud Foundation. This is the Cloud Practitioner one. Okay. So if you are aware of what service will do what, overview of AWS, then you can easily crack this Cloud Practitioner certification. Okay. And coming to the stage, we have solutions architect, which is basically our course. We have developers and we have operations. If you go to for professional, we have solutions architect again, and we have DevOps. Okay. And coming to the specialization, didn't I discuss about the certifications before? I think I have this slide. No? Okay. Coming to the specialization, we have networking, security, machine learning, Alexa, data analytics, and database. Kada chesa kada మరి ఎవరో అడిగింది నన్ను సర్టిఫికేషన్ గురించి క్లియర్గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తానని ఆ రోజు చెప్పాను మీకు అసలు ఇది కానీ ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ చేస్తే ద ఫస్ట్ సర్టిఫికేట్ విచ్ ఆర్ సపోజ్ టు డూ ఇస్ దిస్ అండ్ అకార్డింగ్ టు యువర్ స్కిల్ యూ కెన్ గో ఫర్ if you are developer you can go for development, operations admin అయితే operations కి వెళ్ళండి, or if you want to expand yourself into architect you can go for professional, or from where you can go from this certifications you can go for DevOps, or if you are into machine learning or database or networking or security then you can jump from here to here అని చెప్పి చెప్పాను కదా, which is easy. No easy అని అడగొద్దు, no అట్లా అడగొద్దు. ఏంటి అంటే it all depends on what is your understanding. First thing, for example మీకు నెట్వర్కింగ్ లో బాగా గ్రిప్ ఉంది అనుకో, ఫస్ట్ ఇది చేయాలి ఏదేమైనా సరే. ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ ఇగ్నోర్ ద ప్రాక్టీషనర్. ఈ ప్రాక్టీషనర్ బేసిక్ కాబట్టి మనం బేసిక్ తర్వాత ఫస్ట్ సర్టిఫికేషన్ ఇన్ దిస్ ఈజ్ ద క్లౌడ్ యాజ్ అ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్. ఓకే, ఒకసారి సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ చేశాక దెన్ you can jump to different certifications according to your interest. Maybe నాకు డెవలప్మెంట్ అంత రాదు, సో మేబీ అడ్మిన్ అయితే చేయగలను. ఓకే సిస్టమ్ లేదు నేను సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే ఓకే ఆర్ నాకు నెట్వర్కింగ్ అని ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంది, సెక్యూరిటీ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంది, మెషిన్ లెర్నింగ్ అప్స్కిల్ చేస్తాను నేను, ఆర్ ఐఎమ్ ఆల్రెడీ ఇంటూ మెషిన్ లెర్నింగ్ ఆర్ బిగ్ డేటా ఇంటూ డేటాబేస్. ఎస్ అట్లా వెళ్ళిపోవచ్చు. సో వేర్ వీ కెన్ గెట్ ఆల్ దిస్ కోర్సెస్. అబ్బా ఎక్కడ దొరకవచ్చు మీకు అంత ఈజీగా దొరకవు. నో ప్రాబ్లమ్, సింగ్ మీ ఐ గైడ్ యూ వాట్ ఇస్ యువర్ నెక్స్ట్ సర్టిఫికేట్. రిసోర్సెస్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేయగలను. ఓకే, మేబీ ఇఫ్ ఐ కెన్, ఐఎమ్ యాక్చువల్లీ ట్రైంగ్ టు ప్రిపేర్ దిస్ కోర్స్ సో అదర్ కోర్సెస్ ఆల్సో, బట్ అసలు టైం కుదరట్లేదు. అందుకే మామూలుగా మీకు ఒక కోర్స్ చేశారనుకోండి, మీరు సెల్ఫ్ లర్న్ చేసుకోవచ్చు బై గోయింగ్ టు అదర్ వీడియోస్ అండ్ ఆల్. ఎనీవేస్ మీరు ఏది చేద్దామని చెప్తే దాన్ని బట్టి నేను మీకు సజెస్ట్ చేయగలను. ఓకే, ఎందులో ఎక్కువ ప్యాకేజ్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేయొచ్చు? ఓకే, Raviteja, that is explicitly if you want to go for some service, yes, you can definitely go it. ఓకే, సో ఎక్కువ ప్యాకేజ్ వచ్చేసి సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్కి ఉంటుంది. సో దిస్ విల్ గివ్ యూ ద హైయెస్ట్ ప్యాకేజ్. బట్ ప్రొఫెషనల్కి వెళ్ళాలంటే ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ మన అసోసియేట్ కంప్లీట్ చేయాలి. యూ షుడ్ హ్యావింగ్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ఇన్ దిస్ అండ్ దెన్ యూ కెన్ గో ఫర్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్. బట్ దిస్ విల్ గివ్ యూ ద హైయెస్ట్ పే డెఫినెట్లీ ఇన్ ద మార్కెట్. ఓకే, ఏంటి అందరూ అందుకే డల్గా ఉన్నారా? బెంగ పెట్టుకున్నారా ఈ టీచర్ మీద? అవా అవా ఆహా అవునా? యా 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 నిజంగానే లాస్ట్ క్లాస్కా? నో ప్రాబ్లం, ఆల్ ది బెస్ట్ గైస్. మీరు మంచిగా చదువుకోండి, చేసుకోండి. సి, ఒకవేళ మీరు గ్రాడ్యుయేట్స్ 1 year 2 years అయినా పర్లేదు, మీరు AWS నేర్చుకుంటున్నారంటే మీకు ఒక బ్రైట్ ఫ్యూచర్ ఉంటుంది చాలా. ఓకే, చిన్న పిల్లలు బిమిల్చి అంటే అబ్బా అబ్బా. అందుకే డల్గా ఉన్నారా? అబ్బా ఫేవరెటీస్ అంట. చిన్న పిల్లల మారకండి మీరు. ఓ దీపక్, రమేష్, గైస్ మీరు ఒకవేళ ఏమైనా సర్టిఫికేట్ చేస్తున్నారంటే నాకు ఒకసారి అప్రోచ్ అవ్వండి. ఈ మధ్య నాకు తెలిసింది ఏంటంటే మీకు ఏమైనా ఓచర్స్ నేను ప్రొవైడ్ చేయగలను 50% ఆఫ్. మీ దగ్గర ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్ యాక్చువల్లీ, చెప్పాను కదా మీ కాలేజ్ ఏమైనా ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తే మీ కాలేజ్ మీకు ఫ్రీగానే ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తుంది ఓచర్స్. యాక్చువల్లీ మాక్సిమం ఫ్రీగానే ఇచ్చేయచ్చు. కానీ ఒకవేళ ఇవ్వట్లేదు అంటే మీరు జగన్ గారితో కూడా చెక్ చేయండి, మీకు 50% ఓచర్ వచ్చేస్తుంది. అంటే మీరు హాఫ్ మనీ కట్టేసి రాసేయచ్చు, అటెంప్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. సూపర్ అసలు అది. ఓకేనా? హౌ టు కంప్లీట్ అంటే గ్రూప్లో నేను మీకు కొన్ని మెసేజెస్ పెడతాను. హౌ టు ప్రిపేర్ ఫర్ క్లౌడ్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్. మీరు ఒకవేళ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ వెరీ న్యూ టు ఐటీ, యూ హ్యావ్ నాట్ ఎట్ వర్క్డ్, సో ఐ రికమెండ్ యూ టు గో ఫర్ క్లౌడ్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్ బిఫోర్ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్. ఓకే, క్లౌడ్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్ రాసి సొల్యూషన్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ రాయండి, ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఈజీ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, ఫస్ట్ థింగ్. అండ్ just see my LinkedIn here. You can just go to my Facebook also. Deepak. టిప్స్ అంటే ఎఫెక్టివ్ బాగా హెల్ప్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి, మీకు గ్రూప్లో పెడతాను. నేను గ్రూప్లో పెట్టే మెసేజ్ అయి పెడతాను. మీరు ఇప్పుడు ఇంకేమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగండి. క్లౌడ్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్కి ఏం ఫాలో అవ్వాలి, అసోసియేట్కి ఏం ఫాలో అవ్వాలి, ఆల్రెడీ నేను రమేష్కి పెట్టాను. అండ్ జస్ట్ ఫార్వర్డ్ ద సేమ్ థింగ్ ఇన్ ద గ్రూప్, ఇట్ విల్ బి హెల్ప్ఫుల్ ఫర్ యూ. ఓకే, ఏమేమి లింక్స్ కూడా పెట్టాను, మీరు ఆ లింక్ క్లిక్ చేస్తే మీకు ఆ పేజ్కి డైరెక్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. ఓకే, ఓకే ఒక్క నిమిషం రా జగన్ గారు, ఒక్క నిమిషం. ఈ ట్రైనింగ్కి ఏ సర్టిఫికేట్ అంటే ఈ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్, క్లౌడ్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్ రెండు చేయలేస్తారు. ఇట్ ఈస్ జస్ట్ యూ నీడ్ ప్రాక్టీస్. ఓకే, విజ్ ల్యాబ్స్ అని చెప్పానా, ఆ ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి, ప్రాక్టీస్ టెస్ట్ చేయండి. ఓకే, మీరు ఆల్రెడీ రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నారు కదా నావి, మళ్ళీ వీ జస్ట్ గో త్రూ ఇట్. హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ చేయండి. ఓకే, జగన్ గారు, డూ యూ వాంట్ మీ టు గివ్ దిస్? జగన్ గారు
అనుపమ్ గారు చెప్పండి.
ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఫామ్ అందరికి పంపించారా? మీరు ఒక లింక్ ఇచ్చారు కదా,
పెట్టేయండి సరిపోతుంది.
ఓకే ఓకే
మీ వాట్సాప్ కొంచెం అంటే ఆఫ్లైన్ లో ఉంది సరే బెటర్ చాట్ బాక్స్ లో వచ్చి ఇచ్చాను అంతే.
No problem, no problem. So guys, I'm sending you a feedback form link. Okay. So you can just go through that link, and I think it's asked for an email ID. Give the email ID which you have given when you're enrolling to APSCC. Okay, na? Exam pattern, see 65 questions ఉంటాయి. Okay, 65 questions అన్ని మల్టిపుల్ చాయిస్. సూపర్ కదా, ఫిల్ ద బ్లాంక్స్ ఉండవు. అండ్ ఇంకొకటి ఏంటంటే అంటే లైక్ స్ట్రాటజీ ఏంటంటే AWS లో ఒక క్వశ్చన్ కి మల్టిపుల్ చాయిస్ ఆన్సర్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, అన్ని ఆన్సర్స్ కరెక్టే, కానీ ఆ క్వశ్చన్ కి ఏ ఆన్సర్ కరెక్ట్ అనేది చూడాలి. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం స్టోరేజ్ క్లాసెస్ చూస్తున్నాం, ఎస్ఎస్ స్టోరేజ్ క్లాసెస్. వీ హ్యావ్ స్టాండర్డ్, ఫ్రీక్వెంట్, గ్లేషియర్ డీప్ ఆర్కైవ్, ఇంటెలిజెంట్ ఐరింగ్, అన్ని ఆప్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి. కానీ ఒక రిలవెంట్ క్వశ్చన్ అడుగుతారు, ఒక్క స్టోరేజ్ క్లాసే ఆన్సర్ అయ్యేలాగా. ఆ క్వశ్చన్ కి ఏ కరెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్ అనేది మనం సెలెక్ట్ చేయాలి. అలా ఉంటాయి క్వశ్చన్స్, ట్రిక్కీ ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, సో మనకి అన్ని స్టోరేజ్ క్లాసెస్ గురించి తెలిస్తేనే కదా మనం ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ చేయగలం. అలా ఇస్తారు, దట్స్ హౌ దే గివ్. ఓకే, సో ఐ థింక్ ఆ ఫామ్ అనేది లింక్ తీసుకోండి, మళ్ళీ మీటింగ్ పోయింది అనుకోండి ఆ ఫామ్ కూడా పోతుంది. జస్ట్ కాపీ ఇట్ అండ్ గివ్ ద ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ లేటర్. ఇప్పుడు మనం క్వశ్చన్స్, మీరు క్వైరీస్ మీద కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేద్దాం. రికార్డ్ చేయట్లేదా? ఏం పర్లేదు. సి, మీకు డ్రైవ్ లో మీకు కొన్ని మెటీరియల్స్ అప్లోడ్ చేశాను. ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్పిన మెటీరియల్స్ అప్లోడ్ చేయకూడదు, కానీ వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ విచ్ ఐఎమ్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయినింగ్, నేను ఏదైతే ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తున్నానో అదంతా PDF లో ఉంది. యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ గో త్రూ ఇట్. ఓకే, అండ్ బెస్ట్ ఏంటి చెప్పనా, మేక్ అ నోట్. ఒక్కొక్క సర్వీస్ తీసుకొని అసలు మీకు ఏం తెలుసు, ఏమైనా నేర్చుకున్నా ఎప్పుడు అప్డేట్ చేస్తూ ఉండండి. ఎగ్జామ్కి వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు కానీ, ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు కానీ బాగా యూజ్ అవుతుంది. అండ్ గైస్, సర్టిఫికేషన్ కి మనం ఇంకా ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలి, ఈ ప్రాక్టీసెస్ చేయాలి. ఎందుకంటే మనం కాన్సెప్ట్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసుకున్నాం, డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నాం ఇక్కడ, రైట్? కానీ ఎగ్జామ్ రాయాలి అంటే ఆ క్వశ్చన్స్ కి మనం అలవాటు అవ్వాలి, ఆ మైండ్ సెట్ రావాలి. సో దానికి ప్రాక్టీస్ టెస్ట్ అంటాం. ఓకే, కానీ ఇంటర్వ్యూకి యు ఆర్ రెడీ. మీరు అన్ని నా క్లాస్ అన్ని అటెండ్ అయ్యారు, సిన్సియర్ గా అన్ని హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ చేశారు అంటే మాత్రం మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూకి రెడీ. యూ కెన్ ఈ రోజు కూడా ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళిపోవచ్చు మీరు, అన్ని గుర్తు పెట్టుకుని ఉంటుంది. అండ్ నా మాట నమ్మండి, వాడు ఇంప్రెస్ అయిపోతాడు మీ ఆన్సర్స్ కి. ఓకే, క్లౌడ్ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ కోర్సే కదా ఇది. ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి, క్వశ్చన్ ఏమంటున్నారు మీరు? దీపక్, ఒక్క నిమిషం. క్లాసెస్ ఎక్కడ ఉంటాయి, ఏం నేర్చుకోవాలంటే చెప్పనియా? వన్ ఇయర్ చేయాలనా ఎస్ఏ? ఎందుకు 1 year? నందనా సిద్ధ, వాట్ ఆర్ యూ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్? ఐ డోంట్ గెట్ యూ. No, Deepak, see, don't expect to have a grip on all the services. It is not possible. నేను చెప్తా విను, ఇన్ ద వరల్డ్ మొత్తంలో ఎవరికి కూడా అన్ని సర్వీసెస్ తెలుసుండవు. ఎందుకంటే AWS లో కూడా అందరికీ అన్ని తెలియవు. దే మైట్ బి డూయింగ్ స్పెషలైజేషన్ ఇన్ ఎనీ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద సర్వీస్. ఎవరికి అన్ని సర్వీసెస్ తెలుసుండవు, దట్స్ నాట్ పాసిబుల్. సరేనా? డోంట్ వరీ అబౌట్ దట్. సి, మనం అట్లా అనుకొని మనకేం రాదు అనుకోవద్దు. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నిన్న ఎవరో ఏదో అడిగారు, నాకు తెలియదని చెప్పా, డీప్ రేజర్, నాకు ఐడియా లేదు. ఇట్స్ ఆన్ మెషిన్ లెర్నింగ్ అని ఏదో అని తెలుసు అంతే. సో ఇట్స్ ఓకే. మనం సర్టిఫికేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఆ రిలవెంట్ సర్వీసెస్ నేర్చుకొని యూ షుడ్ బి డూయింగ్ ద సర్టిఫికేషన్ అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు గో టు అదర్ సర్టిఫికేషన్. మనం జాబ్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఏ సర్వీస్ అయితే అక్కడ యూజ్ చేస్తామో దాని మీద బాగా గ్రిప్ వచ్చేస్తుంది. దట్స్ ఫైన్. రెజ్యూమ్ లో పెట్టుకోవచ్చా? ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ యూ కెన్ కీప్ ఇట్. రెజ్యూమ్ లో పెట్టండి, APSCC సర్టిఫికేట్ కూడా ఇస్తుంది కదా. మంచి ఇది వస్తుంది, వాల్యూ ఉంటుంది, క్రెడిబిలిటీ. సర్టిఫికేట్ ఇస్ వ్యాలిడ్ ఫర్ 3 years. అవును. ట్రైనింగ్ ఎక్కడ దొరుకుతాయి? ట్రైనింగ్ తీసుకున్నావు కదా, మళ్ళీ ఏంది ట్రైనింగ్? నీకు ట్రైనింగ్స్ మనకి దొరకవు, అంత ఈజీ కాదు. యూనో వాట్, AWS డాక్యుమెంటేషన్ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, సో ఒకసారి మనం ట్రైనింగ్ తీసుకున్నాక యూ కెన్ ఎక్స్పాండ్ యువర్ నాలెడ్జ్. సో వితౌట్ ట్రైనింగ్, ఇఫ్ యూ డైరెక్ట్లీ గో టు డాక్యుమెంటేషన్, యూ మే నాట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద థింగ్స్. బట్ ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఒక ఐడియా వస్తుంది మీరు అది చదువుతుంటే. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు అసోసియేట్ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ నేను మీకు గ్రూప్ లో పెడతాను కొన్ని లింక్స్, యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ గో త్రూ ఇట్. బిజ్ ల్యాబ్స్ అనేది హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ అసైన్మెంట్స్ అవన్నీ మీ దగ్గర పెట్టుకొని యూ కెన్ ప్రిపేర్ వెల్. ఓకే, సో కాకపోతే అది అయిపోయినాక వేరే సర్టిఫికేట్ చేయాలి అంటే మీరు ఏ సర్టిఫికేట్ చేస్తారో నాకు చెప్తే ఐ వుడ్ ప్రొవైడ్ యూ రిలవెంట్ లింక్స్ టు యూ. ఓకే, నందన సిద్ధ 1 year అనేది జనరల్ గా చెప్తారు, ఇది ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ రికమెండ్ చేసేది. బట్ 1 year ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ లేకుండా కూడా అసోసియేట్ మాత్రం క్రాక్ చేయొచ్చు, అసోసియేట్ ఇవన్నీ. బట్ ప్రొఫెషనల్ చేయలేం ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ లేకుండా. దీపక్ మనం డిస్కస్ చేసాం కదా దీపక్, సర్వీసెస్ అన్ని EC2, EBS, EFS, S3, VPC, RDS, RA53, ELB, ఆటో స్కేలింగ్ గ్రూప్, SNS, SQS, క్లౌడ్ వాచ్. ఓకే, చేస్తాను రమేష్, నేను చేస్తాను. ఓకే, జగన్ గారు గ్రూప్ లో కూడా పెట్టారు ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఫామ్. ఓకే, ఇంకేమైనా క్వశ్చన్? నేను చెప్పినవి సరిపోతాయానా? 90% నేను చెప్పినవి సరిపోతాయి. నేను ఎగ్జామ్ అటెంప్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఏ అయితే సర్వీసెస్ చేశానో అవి మాక్సిమం నా పీపీటీలోకి తీసుకురావడానికి ట్రై చేశాను. అండ్ యూ నో వాట్ గైస్, సర్టిఫికేట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. సింపుల్ చెప్తున్నా. ఎలా అంటే మీరు ఒకవేళ మీరు లింక్డ్ఇన్ లో చూడండి, సర్టిఫికేషన్ చేసి ఉంటారు కానీ ఇంటర్వ్యూ తీసుకుంటున్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళు అసలు ఆన్సర్ చేయరు, వాళ్ళకి అసలు నాలెడ్జ్ లేదు అంటారు. ఓకే, నేను సర్టిఫికేషన్ మించిన ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇచ్చాను మీకు, మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూకి రెడీ అయి ఉంటారు. అండ్ యూ నో వాట్ యూ విల్ డూ, యూ జస్ట్ అప్డేట్ దిస్, ఏమైతే మీరు ఏ సర్వీసెస్ లో అయితే బాగా గ్రిప్ ఉందో అవి మీరు రెజ్యూమ్ లో అప్డేట్ చేసి, మీరు అసలు ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ నౌకరీలో అప్డేట్ చేసి మీరు ట్రై చేయండి జాబ్కి. అండ్ జాబ్కి కాల్స్ వస్తున్నాయి, మీరు అటెండ్ అవుతా ఉండండి. వాళ్ళు సర్టిఫికేషన్ ఉందా అని అడిగితే నేను ఏం చెప్తారంటే మేము రీసెంట్ గానే ట్రైనింగ్ తీసుకున్నాం, ఓకే నౌ ఐఎమ్ ప్రిపేరింగ్ ఫర్ ద సర్టిఫికేషన్, ఐ విల్ డెఫినెట్లీ డూ ఇట్ అని చెప్పండి. బట్ యూ వాంట్ డూ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఇట్. నా ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే మీరు చేస్తుండాలి, అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూకి కూడా అటెండ్ అవ్వచ్చు. సో సర్టిఫికేషన్ అయ్యాకే ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేయాలంటే అవసరమే లేదు. బట్ సర్టిఫికేషన్ అవసరమా అంటే ఎస్, ఇట్ ఇస్ యూస్ఫుల్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 2 people ఉన్నారనుకోండి, కంపెనీ జాబ్ కోసం వచ్చారు, 2 persons ఉన్నారు, ఇద్దరికి సేమ్ క్యాపబిలిటీస్ ఉన్నాయి. ఒకరికేమో సర్టిఫికేట్ ఉంది, ఒకరికి లేదు. సర్టిఫికేట్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళనే ప్రిఫర్ చేస్తారు బికాస్ హీ సర్టిఫైడ్ ఫ్రమ్ AWS. దాని ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఉంటుంది, కానీ ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వడానికి మాత్రం, ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళడానికి మాత్రం ఆ సర్టిఫికేట్ ఒక్కటే చాలదు. మీకు నాలెడ్జ్ ఉండాలి, విచ్ యూ హ్యావ్ గెయిన్డ్ దీస్ మెనీ డేస్. అవును, క్లియర్ చేస్తారు. జయశ్రీ, యాక్చువల్గా నేను అది రికమెండ్ చేయను సార్. మీరు ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు ఓన్గా చేస్తారో మీకు తెలియకుండా మీకు కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ వస్తుంది. వీ కెనాట్ ఈవెన్ అది ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసి కూడా కాదు ఎలా కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ అనేది. ఓకే, ఓకేనా? ఓకే, అలా ఉంటాయి. ఏంటి అంటే ప్రాబబ్లీ లైక్ ఎన్ని సర్టిఫికేట్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటే జాబ్ కాల్స్ వస్తాయి అంటారు, కానీ నాలెడ్జ్ లేకుండా సర్టిఫికేట్స్ ఒకటి పెట్టుకోలేము. థ్యాంక్ యూ Lakshmi Priya. Thank you, yeah. Your feedback, means a lot to me. Thank you so much. మీకు నేను వాట్సాప్లో అవైలబుల్ ఉంటాను కదా, మీరు ఏమైనా డౌట్ అడితే ఏమంటే ఫోన్ చేసి మాట్లాడతాను కదా. మరి ఇంకేంటి మిస్ అంటున్నారు? మీరు అందరూ ఎగ్జామ్ రాసి AWS జాబ్ తెచ్చుకోండి, నాకు చెప్పండి. దట్ వుడ్ బి గ్రేట్. I would be very happy as a trainer being here. ఓకే, మంచిగా లింక్డ్ఇన్ లో పెట్టుకుందాం. యా, ఐ ట్యాగ్ యూ. అండ్ జగన్ గారిని అడగండి రిగార్డింగ్ దట్ ఓచర్ అండ్ ఆల్, హీ మే హెల్ప్ యూ. ఓకే, యా. హలో గైస్, if you have any more questions you can just reach out to me in WhatsApp. Yeah, chalo, bye bye, thank you, all the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Bye bye, have a great future. Okay. Chalo.